Joined now by Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Party, my great friend. You know him as one of the co-hosts of The Weekend, which airs right before Velshi on MSNBC, which I generally really enjoy, except kind of wrecked some things for me because Michael Steele used to be the guy who sat in here and helped me out if I was traveling. Michael, always great to have you on Velshi. You are part of the team. I was watching your show this morning. You tackled this topic in a lot of different, very interesting ways. But while you were doing that, the Vice President of the United States was doing the rounds on, the Vice President candidate, J.D. Vance, was doing the rounds talking about this. I would like to just play you. He was asked about these baseless claims on NBC's Meet the Press. I know you guys ran that, but he was also asked about it on CNN. Let me play you a little about what he said.
Sure. I have heard firsthand from multiple constituents, people who made 911 calls a month ago, a year ago, who are making these complaints. I trust my constituents more than I do the American media that has shown no interest in what's happened in Springfield until we started sharing cat memes on the internet, which is disgraceful. The American media ignored this town.
What does justice mean?
Create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
You just said that this is a story that you created. So then the eating dogs thing is not.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents.
So, I don't know where to start with this thing. They are, in a real world, Michael, this would have come up and everybody would be distancing themselves from it and not creating potential for stochastic violence, which is what we're actually seeing play out in Ohio.
Well, J.D. Vance sort of let the, proverbial cat out of the bag there when he says, well, if I have to create a story to get you to, cover what we want you to cover, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. I mean, the originator of this, private Facebook posting has come out and said, this is not what I intended. This was just something I was, this is a private conversation that has now gotten blown up. And what makes it so galling and so bad, Ali, is the fact that you have a former president of the United States and his vice presidential pick perpetuating and leveling it up. So if your constituencies, how long have your constituencies been coming to you telling you that, they're eating cats and dogs over here? How long have they been doing that, JD? Was this something that just started 2 weeks ago, or was this going on for a long time? And did you have your staff, your Senate staff, go and verify this information? Because that's what the press has done. The press has come back and said, this is BS. There's nothing here. In fact, as I just mentioned, the person who made it all up said it's all made up. So what are your constituents telling you? What kind of barbecues have you been to where they're serving cat?
Yeah.
So, this is where it gets ridiculous. And the fact of the matter is that we are talking about this 50 days out from a presidential election. Should tell the American people everything they need to know. And the one thing you need to know is there was a reason you fired Donald Trump in 2020.
Yeah.
Remember that reason. Because they're coming back with more.
Right. I would think he would downplay the reasons that Donald Trump was fired. We're a day away from some of the voting starting in Pennsylvania, and in a really important presidential debate, arguably more important than the last one, right? Because we got a new candidate. This was going to be the one that really mattered. Donald Trump kept saying he wanted it. We talked about people eating pets. We talked about replacement theory. We talked about, Jason Stanley just made the point that these people who Donald Trump said hardly speak English, don't even really know what country they're in, but somehow on election day, they're fully able to motivate to turn out to elect Democrats. We talked about Kamala Harris supporting gender reassignment surgery for migrant people in prisons. It was a moment to distinguish yourself from a policy perspective about the things you're going to do. And the one time he was asked a question about policy, about health care, he said, you don't have a plan, he's got a concept of a plan. 8 years, 10 years this guy's been in government, but he's got a concept of a plan for health care. What's going on here? Is it so important to motivate fringe that he's just forgetting about the mainstream?
Well, that's a very good point, because that's the frustration from what I understand from a lot of folks who try to, remember we started this conversation, let's go back to that. Beginning of this campaign, Donald Trump's got a serious campaign team around him. He's gotten rid of the Corey Lewandowski's, and he's gotten rid of the riffraff, right? He's really serious. He's got two political astute players of the game, right? And La Savita and Wiles, who have very carefully crafted and articulated a narrative where Donald Trump looked like he was normal, right?
Yeah.
Donald Trump didn't like normal.
No.
Didn't like normal. So he brings back Corey. He layers up with Laura Loomer, right? Loomer. So he brought the crazy back in and is controlling the narrative. And guess what we're now talking about? All the things you just said.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to do that, because at the end of the day for Donald Trump, which we saw in this debate, it's not about expanding his base vote, not expanding that feeling that he's hit at 46, 47%. Because he thinks all he needs are his base voters to win the thing. Let him keep thinking that. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is going to go out and have Republicans like myself and others support her, along with fellow travelers of independent voters, people of color, people from different experiences coming to the table because they don't want to look backward.
And she's going to places in Pennsylvania that voted Republican by a lot. She's gone to places in North Carolina that voted Republican by a lot. Places in Georgia that voted Republican. She's taking the fight to them. Okay, knock yourself out. If you want to be talking about fringe, weird stuff, that's up to you. Michael,
And the thing, just real quick on that, a important note, and she doesn't need 30, 40% of that vote that she's going after. She needs 2, 3, 4% of that vote.
Exactly right. Just a few votes here and there, and that selection gets won. Michael, it is always a great pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, my friend. Michael Steele is the former chairman of the Republican National Committee. He's the co-host of The Weekend, which airs on MSNBC right before Bell Street from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on weekend.